That he was a delightful guy. You know, I was probably 6, 7 maybe at the time, but I just remember him just being a friendly face, being safe harbor, you know. I think at that age, I think all kids are just, all adults are scary if they're not your parents, and John was not.
Very interesting. So somewhat similar memories, I guess, to Macaulay Culkin, in a sense.
Yeah, in fact, there's a lot of what Max says that really resonates with me. You know, that was definitely very much my experience, and you know, I think that what it really truly is unique is that you could have someone. I mean, because we had this conversation a few times when we were talking about approaching Mac. It's like, okay, well, what is he going to be able to say? Because, you know, your worst nightmare is that you go through all of these hoops and you spend all of this time and energy trying to get this, you know, interview. And then he says, dude, I was 7. I don't really remember. He was nice. You know what I mean?
That is how I came on. I was fortunate to come into the film through my relationship with him. I think we were just in a stage where the film was just all being built and it needed these kind of big ideas, and Ryan, I just worked with Ryan, and Ryan knows how much of myself I pour into my work. And I had a conversation with Colin and Darrin, and the film was just like, it was really, we were really at the stage of like, I came in and kind of started feeling like John was just a bigger feeling than anything that felt like a narrative structure. It was just like, or anything linear. John to me was, I think even in the first conversation with Colin, was like, it's like this Willy Wonka type figure. And I don't know why he, going into it, what the recipe was, why he stayed with us so much, even to this day. And that felt like what was important to dive into navigating and being like Chris says, like a detective of his story. I was trying to figure out what John meant to me, and I think we all started trying to figure out what John meant to us personally, and then how we could relay that to an audience.
Darrin, you're working with
A way to sort of dip through time.
For those that remember seeing John's films, it needed to feel like they had just seen a John Candy film. We knew that we needed to feel that, but we also knew that there needed to be a little bit more than that. But even if you look at each segment in the film, I could argue every section is still a John Candy film. Do you know what I mean? Even the whole anxiety sequence around the Argonauts, well, that's still a John Candy film. That's just JFK, which is still a John Candy film. He's in it, as well as the fun and light montages. The real component was just not getting too overly sappy. That was really sort of the thing that we really wanted to keep an eye on.
Mike, I think you really managed to strike that note.
I found that to be so fascinating because I obviously I knew the importance of that job, within sort of like my dad's story within that journey. But you watch the film, you just assume that it was written like that. You just sort of assume that that's what it was, and it was so. Hearing it, I just went, oh, well, of course, that's what John did. That, John at that point was still that was Second City. That was that was how he worked. That was how he was creative. So he's not going to not do that just because he's on a movie now all of a sudden. And all good improvers, it's not about one-upping. It's about how can we make the piece best. And that is a group effort. And that's very much, what makes improv so special. And again, that's what makes John so special.
Yeah, it's amazing how much it actually formed his whole life, really, those Second City years.
Yeah, and then he was very young, of course, as they all were at that time. I remember it when it was a half-hour show, actually, before, and then we hear that in the 90-minute show.
just inspiring. It truly was. I mean, I knew very, very early on that I wanted the film to premiere at Toronto just because of John's connection with the city. What I was not prepared for was the groundswell of love and support that Toronto and all of Canada had. I don't think you really truly understand just how much John means to Canada and to Toronto until you are witness to it. But it is truly unique and special. And it was a great honor, for our film to open up the festival. I don't pretend it's for any other reason than John. It's simple as that. But it was a great honor to be able to do that, and the reception that the film got was amazing. Yeah, it was incredibly memorable. Also, one of the most memorable entrances for a film premiere I'll ever have. Ryan somehow found somebody who recreated the car from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and the two of us drove into the premiere in that car.
Wow.
Like smoke, hydraulics, like everything. It was literally a complete 100% perfect recreation. So, yeah, rolled in style and just had an amazing evening.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this film with us tonight. Colin Hanks, Shane Reid, producer, and Darrin Roberts, editor. Thank you.
Thank you.